Welcome to today's lecture of water and its treatment, and in today's lecture we'll be dealing with the reverse osmosis. So you already are aware of the principle of osmosis. So before I move to the reverse osmosis, let me explain to you how the osmosis works. Now please have a look at this diagram. You can see that this is a beaker containing two different types of sugar solution. On the left hand side is a dilute sugar solution, and on the right hand side is a concentrated sugar solution. That means more amount of sugar is present in the concentrated sugar solution, whereas less amount of sugar is present in the dilute sugar solution. Now the two types of solution are separated by a semi-permeable membrane. Now what is a semi-permeable membrane? This is a membrane which is actually containing pores, and depending upon the pores, the solute particles or the water particles can enter. Now if the pore size is very less, then only the water molecules can move. That means the solute particles that which are bigger in size as compared to the water molecules, they have restricted entry through the semi-permeable membrane. So this semi-permeable membrane is in fact selective membrane which does not permit the passage of dissolved solute particles. Now uh, when these two different types of solutions having different concentrations of sugar are separated by this semi-permeable membrane, then we find that there is an automatic transfer of the water molecules from the left to the right. So that means the water molecules from the dilute sugar solution will move towards the concentrated sugar solution, and the pressure that is driving the water molecules to move from left to right is known as the osmotic pressure, and this movement will continue when the concentration of sugar is equal on both sides of the semi-permeable membrane. So this is how the osmosis works. That means osmosis is a natural phenomenon, and we find this phenomenon in our day-to-day lives. So that means this osmosis phenomenon occurs in every cell of our human body, and in fact it is also working in the case of plants which imbibe water when we are watering the plants through the roots. So that means the water will always move from the roots to the stems or the leaves, and the process that is occurring is the osmosis phenomenon. But let us come to what is reverse osmosis. So as the name is saying reverse, so that means the process will reverse osmosis, the process will occur reverse to the phenomenon of osmosis. Now how does this reverse osmosis occurs? So let us see this diagram on the right hand side. Here you see that this is a brackish water or sea water. Now we know that the sea water contains high amount of salt. That means the higher concentration of salt is present in seawater. Now, if you want to remove the salt from the seawater, and in fact we want to extract pure water from the seawater for drinking purpose, because seawater is not fit for drinking. But if we want to prepare pure water from seawater, we have to take the help of reverse osmosis. So as I said, osmosis is the process in which the water molecules are moving from a lower concentration of the solute particles to the higher concentration of the solute particles. So, but in the case of reverse osmosis, what happens is that the water molecules will always move from a higher concentration of solute particles to the lower concentration of the solute particles. So that means we know that the osmosis process is a natural phenomenon, and it is working under the osmotic pressure. But what happens in the case of reverse osmosis, if you have to reverse the process of osmosis, then we have to apply a external pressure. That means the pressure has to be higher than the osmotic pressure, and this pressure has to be applied to the sea water or brackish water, and this brackish water and the pure water has to be separated by the semi-permeable membrane. Now, as I said, the semi-permeable membrane is nothing but a selective membrane, and it does not permit the passage of dissolved solute particles. That means it allows only the water molecules to pass through. So what happens is that in a cylindrical container, we take the seawater, and this cylindrical container is an enclosed chamber, and when we apply pressure to the seawater, and this pressure has to be greater than the osmotic pressure, what happens is that the water molecules will start to move from the seawater to the pure water. So that means the water that is moving from the seawater to the other part of the container, is that what happens is that only the salt is left behind, and pure water is moving to the other side of the cylinder. So what happens? We are getting pure water. So you can see the direction of of the arrow. You find that in the case of osmosis, the water will move from the lower concentration of salt to the higher concentration, and this is a natural phenomenon. That means the water will flow in under the pressure of osmosis, or it is called as osmotic pressure. But what happens in the case of reverse osmosis is that the water molecules will move from the higher concentration of salt to the lower concentration. And for the process to occur reversely, then we have to apply a external pressure, and this external pressure has to be greater than the osmotic pressure. Now, most important thing is that the higher the concentration of salt, the higher will be the external pressure that is being applied. And the water that is coming out, it is having very low concentration of the salt. That means it is containing pure water, and depending upon the pore size of the membranes, that means the semi-permeable membrane, as I said, it is having some definite pore size, and these pores, they allow only the water molecules or the solvent molecules to move through, and it does not permit the movement of dissolved salts or any other solute particles. Now, if the pore size is depending upon the pore size of the membrane, we can allow certain amount of minerals to pass through. So whatever it is, we get pure water, or to some extent some minerals can pass through. So that means this type of water that is coming out of this reverse osmosis process is called as the RO water. So this is how the principle of RO process takes place. Now, what are the advantages of the RO process? It is simple. It's a reliable process of water softening. Obviously, it is not expensive. Whatever expenses are incurred in the reverse osmosis process is because of the semi-permeable membrane. Now, the life of the semi-permeable membrane is usually 2 to 3 years, and it can be replaced within minutes. So that means whatever the cost of the reverse osmosis process is directly proportional to the cost of the semi-permeable membrane. Now, it is a highly energy efficient process. That means the energy consumption for the treatment process of water is very, very low, and it is also an environmentally friendly process, and it operates at low temperature. So that means of the total water softening process, the reverse osmosis has got various advantages, and this process is also used for the desalination of seawater. That means obtaining pure water from the saline water. So but the process is this process is usually used for drinking water purposes. It is usually not used for the treatment of boiler hard water. So let us come to the Calgon conditioning. Now, what is Calgon conditioning? As I said in the while discussing on the boiler hard water problems, I said that for the treatment of boiler hard water, there are two types of treatment process. One is the internal treatment, and other is the external treatment. Now, as I said, the external treatment are the preventive methods, and they involve the treatment to take place prior to the entry to the boiler. So that means the external treatment methods include the lime soda process, the zeolite process, and the ion exchange process. But what happens to the internal treatment methods? Now, they are corrective methods, and such methods of treatment involve the use of chemicals so that we can loosen the hard scales that have already been formed in the inner walls of the boiler. And one of such treatment is the Calgon conditioning. Now, the Calgon is the name of a chemical. It is actually sodium hexametaphosphate, and when the Calgon is added to the boiler water, what happens is that the scales and the sludges, they are loosened, and they can thus be removed from the boiler via blowdown operations. Now, Calgon removes the scales, forming the calcium and magnesium ions. So this is that is the sodium hexametaphosphate. This is the Calgon, and this ionizes to give as the sodium ions and the hexametaphosphate. Now, what happens is that this ion it reacts with the calcium salts and the magnesium salts, and we find that this calcium is getting trapped in the phosphate ions, and what is liberated is the sodium ions. So this is how we treat the boiler hard water, by the use of Calgon, and this is a internal type of treatment. So this is all about your water and its treatment, and this topic is now over. And any type of doubts or discussions we can take that can be taken place during the interactive sessions. Thank you for listening to this lecture. Thank you.